Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to Sam and Max Hit the Books. I'm Max.
I'm Sam.
And we're here today to review the comics that came out on the 20th of November in 2019.
Yep.
Don't think anything was dropped that we need to report this time, so let's get right into it. With the 5th issue of Absolute Carnage by Donny Cates, drawn by Ryan Stegman. This was the end of Absolute Carnage, and I gotta say, I'm disappointed.
It was a little anticlimactic.
It didn't feel like the win was any kind of win. And
it didn't feel like the lose was any kind of lose either on Carnage's behalf.
right, because they made it Eddie's fault. Essentially, that's what revealing it early is. Because really, when you think about it, the better move, I mean, we don't want to sit here and rewrite the comic, but the better move would be to have Eddie make the decision to kill Cletus purely based on other reasons. You know, the sun reason is fine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then later, as he's dying, Carnage can be like, it doesn't matter. Like, haha, I tricked you. You killing me achieves the exact same goal that me killing you would have, and Null is free. And the thing is, we knew Null was going to be freed at the end of this series.
Right, of course.
We knew this was an interstitial series.
Yeah.
But honestly, when I was finished reading it, the main thing I thought of was Event Leviathan, and how what was supposed to be like a big, hard-hitting event by itself ended up just being like, yeah, well, this was actually just set up for the real fight.
It's true. And, you know, that, of course, will stand against it. Maximum Carnage,
Maximum
it is
Carnage. Yeah, and that's the thing, is it really set itself up as the next Maximum Carnage.
Right.
And it had some good moments along the way. We didn't read all the tie-ins, so maybe once there's like a big omnibus collection of every single thing. Because this issue does have that moment where all the characters who were in the tie-ins get a splash page just to show up and be useful for a second.
Right. I think even Shriek was in there.
Yeah, it seems like, I don't know what happened in her miniseries, but it seems like she's solidly good and like leading the other good guys.
So weird.
But honestly, my favorite part of the issue was the very beginning when we flash back to Eddie becoming Cletus' cellmate. And I just love how good Ryan Stegman is at making them look like they looked in that book.
Right.
Like Eddie's hair.
Oh, yeah.
And his body language and his attitude.
And his muscles.
And his, like, yeah, everything about that was perfect, and I loved that.
And Cletus. Man, Cletus looks so much like the Joker.
It's very true. They are very similar.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, overall, it was very kind of perfunctory. Like, every other fight besides Venom and Carnage was kind of just ended in a quick, like, oh, now we won.
Right, exactly.
Dylan's whole thing still hasn't yet been revealed, although he apparently is able to dissolve symbiotes.
And blast them apart.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, and Eddie makes a sword just out of his symbiote, and there isn't even really a resolution of, like, his symbiote. I mean, I guess it does come back, and, like, they're linked again, and it's talking to him, but it's like...
Right, yeah, that's
like,
true.
what is his current symbiote now? Is he all of them still?
That's true. Well, we know the codices wear off after a while, right?
How do we know that?
Because when Eddie took the codice that was taken from Flash Thompson early on, he became all Flash-like.
Oh, you
and then
make
after
a
a
good
while,
point.
that went away.
Yeah. And it's interesting, because I did think we were going to be hearing from Rex a little more often in his, like, inner monologue, because it made it seem very early, like, remember the other symbiote, the soldier one from Vietnam?
Right,
that Eddie met up with in the very first arc, and didn't he end up absorbing his codex?
I think
I'm pretty sure he
absorbed
did.
the whole symbiote.
Yeah, I think so. So I feel like it's interesting that he hasn't shown up much.
Yeah, it's almost like that was forgotten, because, yeah, it should have been part Venom, part Rex.
Right. So, yeah, honestly, this all kind of ended with more of a whimper than a bang, and I get it. It's the middle of an extended arc. It's the middle event.
Well, we're
It's
not
the
done with
end of it.
symbiotes.
We're not done with symbiotes. Maybe Venom Island, the next arc, is like Eddie goes to the island that he was on when he thought he had killed Spider-Man that time.
Yeah.
And he like discharges all of the symbiote codexes and everything he's absorbed.
Ooh.
And they become, and we'll see.
Wild Island.
I am going to give this a 5. It's still pretty good. Like, it finishes the story with no real major loose ends that aren't still supposed to be loose ends.
Yeah.
The art is very good.
The art is very good, but the action in this one seemed a little blurrier than what we've been getting before with the gruesomeness.
Yeah, I wonder if Ryan was a little more rushed as things went on. But yeah, 5.
Yeah, I'd also give it a 5. Now we're going to talk about issue 5 of Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. We've been talking about this one. You know that Jimmy is now in Gotham in the form of his alter ego, Timmy Olsen.
Yeah.
And we saw a little bit about him trolling Batman in the last issue. But this one really brings that more to the forefront. In hilarious ways.
This is the first issue I thought that really kind of started to start resolving some plot points from earlier, or at least move them along, as opposed to just constantly introducing new plot points.
True.
Which is definitely the first 4 issues of this have been hot and heavy with additional plots and characters to keep track of.
Right. Different things Jimmy's doing. But we see what happened at Jimmy's funeral for the fake that he made, which was pretty funny with it exploding.
It's messed up.
Jimmy trolling Batman by filling a place with a bunch of Jokers again. This
multiple Jokers thing. What do you think about Batman in the comic book Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen?
I think he is hilarious.
I feel like Matt Fraction maybe doesn't like Batman.
That's very possible.
But
it might be just knocking him down a peg once again. With, first him being all upset with Superman because Superman brought Jimmy over onto the rooftop.
First, him on that date with the vapid social media personality, and where that he's just like, I'm Batman at night. And she's like, huh? He's like, no, just another one of my hilarious jokes.
Yeah, it's a garçon.
How about the Batman font when he's Batman? Did you notice that?
I didn't notice.
How his dialogue is all like
gruff
and gritty, and he's definitely doing the Christian Bale.
Oh
over the top Batman.
This part where he like trails off while talking about the suffering and the screams and the very, very hilarious.
It's pointed. It's pointed.
Yeah, and him finding out that Alfred pays people to laugh at his jokes.
That I was like,
This is where it's going real far with this one, because he's totally playing with one of those arrow things where it goes on your head and it makes it look like an arrow flew through your head. He's like, I'm hilarious.
I can't believe that they never mentioned that this guy that Jimmy met, that he's trying to get the attention of Batman for, the guy who makes the giant novelty props. At some point they are going to mention that he definitely has to be the one who made the giant penny in the Batcave, right?
Well, I'd assume so.
I can't believe it didn't come up.
Right, that is what you think of immediately when he's talking about it.
They showed the penny in the background of the Batcave shots, but like sort of on panel.
Oh, that is true.
And like the giant novelty playing cards.
Yeah, huge old name. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like at the end of the day, this man has constructed so much of the decoration in the Batcave. Like how can Batman not know about this guy?
Right, and Batman doesn't even know he exists. This all around continues to be very funny, and
I have no idea what's going on with the Luthor plot.
Tongue-in-cheek. Right, the Luthor plot. That's crazy. Intermarriages and forbidden loves. Who knows? I'd give this a 7.
I think it's a 7 as well. This continues to be a very enjoyable comedy book. I don't mind Batman being played for laughs like this in a comedy book.
Right,
That's
exactly.
where it should be taking place.
If Batman was acting like that in a serious book, it would not be okay.
Right. That was all by Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber.
Oh, I didn't even mention that.
So next up, we're going to talk about the big DC Black Label release of the week. The Question, The Deaths of Vic Sage, Book 1. That's written by Jeff Lemire, drawn by Dennis Cowan, who is a classic-style comic book artist. I don't know if you could tell as you were reading this.
No, I just enjoyed the art. It was very gritty.
It was real good. I have never read an issue of The Question. I've encountered The Question in many comics, not just the recent DC comics, but...
Right, of course.
Plus, he's Rorschach. in a way. Like, Rorschach takes it to an extreme, but, like, Rorschach was originally the question.
Yeah, it's almost exact.
What a great character. I love this. The whole being a news anchor,
Yeah,
like
I
a
had
hard-hitting
no idea.
investigative journalist who also goes out and beats up crooks.
Yeah. See, until this point, it never occurred to me that the question had a secret identity.
Right, because, yeah, I mean, that is the question, isn't it? Like, when you see him, it's like, who would do this? What is this guy?
Right, obviously, he's nobody.
How about, so when the book earns its Black Label rating, when the question goes, the lady, okay, so he tells the lady that she needs to make sure that the little girl who's in the whorehouse goes with the police. Like, you can do whatever you want with your life, but, like, this little girl, make sure she goes with the authorities.
Yeah.
And the woman calls him an asshole, and he goes, maybe, but at least I'm not a whore. I was like, snap! The question!
He's ridiculous.
Yeah, what was this reminding me of when he's going underground and finding this? We're seeing a lot of stuff like this lately because this was happening in Curse of the White Knight. I feel like this, but yeah, you know, we've got investigating political corruption. We've got learning about his origin because we're meeting up with the guy who trained him in the martial arts, which seems like it's basically just Stick from Daredevil.
Yeah.
And cool, weird, like, visionary shit going on when he goes into, like, vision trance mode at the end. The art gets, like, it manages to stay subdued the way everything has been so far while also going crazy psychedelic Kirby dots in there.
Yeah. It looks real good at that point.
This is just a real enjoyable issue of comics. Looking forward to the next one quite a bit. I'm going to give this an 8.
No argument there. I'd also give it an 8. I mean, I think it's really cool to be reading a question comic.
The art is so good for this book. Like, I'm so glad that this is one of the oversized Black Label books because just like the sharp, deliberate lines and the inking being like just so stark and a little messy, but like in sort of a pleasing way.
Right, lots of cross hatching and stuff.
This is not clean house style comic art.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, so
you got this one.
We are going to move on now, to issue 1 of 6 of He-Man and the Masters of the Multiverse.
Yeah!
By Tim Seeley and Dan Fraga.
Yes.
And my goodness, now this here's a weird comic.
Oh, man.
It starts like you'd expect any He-Man to start. Skeletor, he's outside the gates of Castle Grayskull. He's saying, come out here and face me and show me the power of the Master Sword so that I can absorb it, or I'm just going to wipe out this entire kingdom over here and you can't do anything about it because you're inside the castle.
Straight to 10, this book.
Yeah, straight to 10. So what does He-Man do? Of course, he summons the power to go fight Skeletor.
Yeah, Skeletor, that's him.
Yeah, and Skeletor does exactly what he said he was going to do, and he takes that power.
No, that's not what happened, bro. Skeletor just got murdered.
Oh, I thought that was him turning into this guy.
No, Skeletor got murdered before He-Man walked out because anti-He-Man.
Okay, I thought Skeletor became the anti-He-Man. That's where most of my confusion was coming from, I now see.
Well, there you go. Hey, let me make this a little more confusing for you. This comic is in continuity with Injustice. The video game and comic book Injustice, because the He-Man that appears in this comic is the He-Man that absorbed the powers of Shazam and ended up being the one to help finally defeat Injustice Superman in the event that ended Injustice.
Oh, really? And that's this He-Man?
I believe it's the same He-Man, because I think we're supposed to imagine that this is the main world He-Man. And shit is immediately fucked up. And they also mention the Nexus of All Realities, which is all shit that they did specifically for the Injustice crossover.
Oh. Wow, interesting.
So yeah, besides that...
I never would have guessed.
This is just a ripoff of Spider-Verse.
Well, that's hilarious. But yeah, after the anti-He-Man, he comes in.
He easily kills He-Man.
He kills He-Man, yeah. No problem there. And then begins his reign of terror across the multiverse. And then we follow this blue guy.
So Keldor. This is Skeletor.
This is Skeletor, but in a world where Skeletor is the good guy and is known as Keldor.
Right. This is basically the Earth 3 of He-Man's, like for DC, where all the evil Justice League is from. That's essentially what we're seeing here. Except for some reason, King Randor is still the good King Randor, even though every other character has their alignments fully shifted.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, super weird.
It's super weird. But, Keldor, he gets recruited by a few He-Mans from other universes who have been fleeing because they need to find a way to beat this anti-He-Man. And one of them, it's like super small legs, huge arms, like almost an action figure.
This is one of my problems with this book, is because the artist isn't doing something where all of the different characters from the different universes have their own distinct style in any way, except for this cartoony-ass little cartoon He-Man.
Yes.
I don't like this guy.
He is off-putting.
I like him like as little as I love that Dolph Lundgren is the other main He-Man of this book. Straight up Dolph Lundgren-ass He-Man. And also the fucking wizard character Gwildor from the live-action He-Man movie makes an appearance.
That's very funny.
Before being murdered by anti-He-Man.
Yeah, and this is another thing that at first confused me, and I did catch on later that there were multiple He-Men. But there's not really a time where they're in the same frame, or because they're always popping out of the panels. So I thought this Dolph Lundgren He-Man was the same He-Man. He was just taking different forms. He was just morphing around the place until finally they
establishing
Keldor
shot.
says and then finally they come through and you can see that they're there, but the bunny He-Man isn't over here, which a little weird.
No, well, he was bunny He-Man. He was definitely transforming into bunny He-Man.
So the little one and the bunny one are the same.
Yeah, there's cartoon He-Man.
The big one, not so much.
Right, this is Spider-Ham, so he can do cartoon physics, and he can change costumes very rapidly like a cartoon character.
Right.
And then Dolph Lundgren,
who
has a technological device. And then...
Yeah, he has a cool thing.
The next world we're visiting is...
the fact that they end up in a sci-fi battle with Thanagarians.
Do you remember Space He-Man? We had the action figure.
I did not remember Space He-Man.
Yeah, that was the reboot of He-Man, was Space He-Man. And he was flying around on a ship, and he had a terrible uniform, and the sword was much more boring looking. And we had the Skeletor, and it was Tech Skeletor. And
All right.
This comic, to me, was a lot of potential, and just felt like a waste of time to read.
Right, it was just so weird that... I'd probably give it a 4 because it did give me some laughs. But then there was also stuff that made me uncomfortable. And
obviously the art was giving you significant problems.
The art was giving me problems for sure. And the story as well.
Yeah.
But I still had fun reading it.
I'm going to give it a 5. I had a good time. Dolph Lundgren He-Man for the win. All right, so moving on to the other Black Label release of the week, one of the weirder books this week, if you ask me, is Batman White Knight presents Von Freeze by Sean Murphy, drawn by Klaus Janson, or Jansen, I don't know. And this essentially is a deleted scene from the first White Knight series. It's just the backstory of how Mr. Freeze works in this universe. And it kind of reveals that Nora Freeze is his adopted sister more than somebody he's in love with, I assume, and is just fine in this reality, which is why he's not horrible Mr. Freeze. Right. Did they cure Nora in the first White Knight? Was that a thing?
I don't think that was a thing in the first White Knight.
But this is basically a story about the Holocaust and how bad the Nazis were. And on that level, it definitely succeeds in being what it wants to be. It's terrible. It's fucking horrifying what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Although all things considered, I really was expecting most of the people to be shot while they were escaping. And since it seems like almost everybody survived, it has almost what you could call a happy ending for a story like this.
I know. It's weird in that way.
I don't know what I mean, wasn't expecting anything with this book because who knew what it was going to be.
Yeah.
But it ended up being pretty solid. Like, a nice read that I don't know if I'd ever go back and read it again, but because it doesn't really seem to fit directly into any of the White Knight stuff. So we'll see if maybe something comes up in the current White Knight series that ends up playing off of this.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about Freeze's role in the first White Knight, and it didn't occur to me that this wasn't just taking place at the same time as the current White Knight.
Yeah, there is a little letter at the back where he explains that that's how it went down. But he does say, so think of this one shot as a deleted scene that falls between issues 6 and 7 of Batman Curse of the White Knight. Something secret about Mr. Freeze.
Huh.
So, I'm going to give it a 6.
That's cool. I give it a 5.
Cool.
Thanks. Now we're going to be talking about issue 3 of King Thor by Jason Aaron and Isad Ribic. And, so last time we left it at Odin falling into the blackness that Thor created.
Thor.
What did I say?
Odin.
Oh, my bad. They're so similar.
They do look. He does look exactly like Odin, and may as well just be Odin in the story.
It's true. I did think that when reading it. It's like, he's so much like Odin. What if Odin just showed up? But yeah, luckily he's saved because it turns out that there are more living people, and it's not just Gore, Thor, and Loki in this universe.
Yeah. Well, we knew his daughters were around. They showed up in the first issue, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah,
they probably
almost certainly did.
That's true. They were off doing something else somewhere else.
The problem is that they haven't shown up enough to where I can differentiate them from each other at all. So that might be my fault.
And they're always together.
They're always together. And I think they do have different personalities. Because they do seem, when all three of them have conversations, it does seem like characters with different personalities. Oh. I just couldn't tell you which one is which. Or who delivered the last line.
Yeah, that's fair. Unless they split up, I mean if they're always together, who can blame you?
The hair, it's pretty similar shades of red on all of them.
Yeah, just different lengths. But they're okay. They hold Gore off for a minute. They rescue Thor and Loki from the black sphere pool thing.
From the Necro Planet.
Yeah, the Necro Planet.
All Black, the Necro Planet.
And that's cool. And but then we get this story about after Gore came before, back in the day when Thor was on the Avengers. How he had killed a lot of gods and a lot of worlds, but after he was gone, Thor brought all the survivors to this one world and gave that world gods. And it's a pretty cool thing. And now the daughters, they came and they woke those gods. And they're like nature gods. Yeah,
I did enjoy the weird gods that they came up with for this. The Dirt Man and the Flesh Lady who's wearing a bacon suit.
Yeah, it's they're interesting. Yeah. God of the Hunt wearing the meat, and God of
Thorns
with her, and the God of Thorns and Vines and the land. And they're cool, and now they're fighting Gore. And that works for a little while.
Yeah, it's one of those classic, now they're winning for a second, but he's actually far too strong to lose.
Right, because the Necro Planet kind of went inside out on them, so when they thought they were fighting on it, but all of a sudden they're inside it.
After they cut off Gore's head, which they don't hesitate to do, which I did appreciate. They're just get his head off ASAP.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter because now Gore and the Necro Sword have just merged into one black being. Which is pretty cool. Thor is ready to fight some more, but now he's in the Necroverse.
Yeah, all black, the Necroverse. He's somehow all of the rest of the universe is all black.
Right, which I just found hilarious. Because last time he was physically sinking into an all-black planet, and now he's physically inside an all-black universe. It's humorous.
You know what I would like? It's probably not going to happen because Donny Cates is about to take over Thor and he probably wants to do it himself. It would be really cool if the Black Silver Surfer showed up in the next issue of this to help with the final battle against Gore and Thor dies, and that ends up explaining how Surfer has Mjolnir in the Donny Cates Thanos series that takes place in the far, far future. Because at some
Even
point...
further than this?
Oh, way farther than this. Yeah. I assume it's farther than this, yeah, because Thor is still around, and in that reality, the Black Surfer has Mjolnir when he goes to fight Thanos and Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Well, that's nice. So yeah, I'd give this a 7.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 as well. I'm really enjoying this, and just one more issue, and we're saying goodbye to Jason Aaron on Thor, and I see no reason to not at least try out the Johnny Cates Thor. So,
well, yes, at least try it.
All right, so Batman 83 by Tom King, Mikel Janin is awful.
Yeah. Every time I turn the page and it's just more text boxes, I groaned.
It's more text boxes. Most of the issue is just Batman emoing out. I hate to use that term because it's Alfred. Alfred's dead, and Thomas Wayne has placed Alfred opposite Bruce in a dining room situation, and Bruce is sad about it, and it sucks because it sucks that Alfred's dead. And Alfred talks about on his recording about how I didn't think you'd be able to win unless you thought I'd be out of the way.
Right, so he lied and said he was safe.
So he killed himself.
Basically.
So
sacrificed.
That's cool.
Sacrificed himself. Yeah, but we don't want Alfred to sacrifice himself. We want Batman, the hero of this story, to be able to save his most trusted advisor who raised him like a father.
Alfred, you can have a story where Alfred sacrifices himself to save Bruce.
Right, or dies some other way.
But
he can be dead.
This is a wasteful sacrifice. A one that's I didn't think you'd be able to pull it off. A way to actually save me.
Right.
So, this is the only way.
Right, you were trapped out there. You weren't doing it. So, I killed myself. And
Psycho Pirate
leaves a bad taste in your mouth, that's the thing.
Yeah, it's nothing fun about this comic book. And Psycho Pirate has mind-controlled everybody to be against Bruce, and it's just him against Thomas. And they're going to have a fist fight.
Yeah, they're going to duke it out, but there's no victory from this.
Probably a whole issue just of them beating the shit out of each other and monologuing is the next one.
Probably.
Kelvin Janin's a good artist, doesn't get to draw anything cool.
Nope. No fighting, no nothing. Just, yeah. Yeah, I didn't like it.
It's a 1.
It's a 1 from me as well.
Yeah.
Just no good. Don't do that to us. Don't do that to Batman.
We're almost done. We're almost done with this.
We happen to like Batman.
I like Batman. I want him to do well.
Ooh. All right. So we're going to move on from that to this week's issue of Immortal Hulk, number 27, Al Ewing, Joe Bennett. And, so last time we found out about the Minotaur.
Yeah.
Him doing his stuff with Roxxon Corporation and coming out into the open and just being like, who's going to stop us? Nobody.
I'm Dario Agger. I'm the Minotaur.
Yeah.
Fuck y'all.
And he's created some Berserker monsters.
But he's only able to get away with this because he controls Facebook and YouTube.
Right, that is what this is about. He controls the social media and thus controls information.
Right.
And he who controls information.
Right. He was very directly
the mind of man.
He was very directly responsible for a lot of War of the Realms happening, and everybody knows and nobody cares thanks to Rock's book or whatever it's called. Rock Space.
So you're getting those monologues through the comic between the Hulk going out to do something about it and these Berserker monsters that Roxxon Corporation has created in order to basically fight the Hulk. He's made Hulk-level monsters, or so they thought. The Hulk, he just goes straight over to where their servers are. He found out he has Shadow Base now, so no problems there. Mm-hmm. And, once he gets there, he fights some Berserkers and beats them handily with a big-ass grin on his face, which is a lot of fun.
Yep, good action, and I enjoyed the way the art was set up where there was action across the bottom of every page and then just 4 panels at the top of every 2-page spread. That was the stuff happening at Roxxon headquarters.
Right. The only thing is, I kind of wish that Minotaur had completely crushed this guy's head.
A little more grisly.
Right, because I've gotten used to that kind of thing in these comics, and it would have been cool to see Joe Bennett draw somebody with a crushed head.
Yeah, that's true. This issue didn't quite have a gross out moment.
No, it did not. But that is, it's not really a complaint or anything, because I love this.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah. So I'd give it I'd give it a 7. I'd give it an 8.
I'm giving it a 7.
All right.
I thought it was fine, but the rocks on plot is just not as interesting to me as the whole crazy One Below All plot had been.
That is true, but I'm still going with it.
So next up, we're going to talk about a new issue 1. This is from Valiant. This is Rye, issue 1 by Dan Abnett, drawn by Juan Jose Reap.
Yeah, I remember reading the first half of this as like a preview in a previous comic.
Oh, this must have been in Bloodshot then.
Yeah, probably.
So I've read a bunch of Rye in this universe. So when he's talking about all this stuff with Father and the orbiting New Japan and stuff, like I read all that stuff up to the crash down.
Well, they explain it pretty much completely in this issue.
That's what I wanted to say. Like, I'm not surprised that you didn't have any trouble following along, because this issue does a very good job of very clearly explaining every single thing that you need to know about the plot that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, the kid basically monologues it to the bartender while he's sitting there, and Raw is doing the stuff outside, beating up the gangs.
It is very info dump-y in a way, but, it's
still very entertaining, though.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of action.
There's a couple of fights. The young Rye, who's actually the older Rye, is able to beat up some guys pretty handily, and then regular Rye... It's interesting because it's a cool concept, like the idea that he's moving so fast that he appears to be not moving at all throughout the whole fight.
Right, but why would he continuously move back to where he's seeming to walk forward slowly? And
as cool of a concept as that is, that does now say that you're going to be drawing a scene where the main character appears to not be doing anything.
Yes, I also have this complaint.
Because it would have been cool to see him be doing some just like much cooler things than Raijin had been doing.
Right, maybe him on the page in multiple places because he's so fast, and you see him landing multiple blows and punches and explosions.
Yeah, Flash style.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, we get some good fights. We get some setup on how Earth is like Mad Max now in this universe, because this is far future of like the reality that Bloodshot also takes place in.
Yeah.
We got this like villain guy showing up who's like a color negative Rye, because he's got a black circle and a red suit.
Yep.
And I'm entertained. The art's very good. I've always liked Juan Jose Reap's stuff. And interestingly, it looks like they might not be inking this. It seems like they might just be coloring over pencils, because it has a very sort of like soft, glowy feel to everything. Which I thought was an interesting choice, because it kind of gives you this very like gray, hazy feel of they're in the desert and everything's dry.
Oh yeah, but at least the sky is blue.
Yeah, pretty good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm going to give this a 6.
Yeah, 6 seems right to me. I'll give it the same. And we're going to finish up the night with issue 36 of Justice League. Scott Snyder and Manapul. Francis Manapul. As well as Howard Porter on pages 14 through 17.
Got it.
And yeah, so we've been with this plot for a long time now. In this issue, Perpetua seemingly immediately betrays most of the Legion of Doom.
Yep, here we go.
She turns Brainiac into her throne. She gives Luthor some extra powers. The rest of the Legion complaining, but what can they do?
Yeah, I like how they, after establishing how dangerous this Legion of Doom has been for 30-plus issues of this book, Perpetua immediately warps everybody.
Yeah.
Because Brainiac 1 million, we just got done setting up how fucking god level he is now, and
that's true.
She just waved with a hand, and now he's a chair.
All right. Well, if she controls Doom entropy power. Why not?
And finally, we got confirmation of the obvious theory that John is going to start talking to Luthor from inside of his psyche.
Oh, did we get confirmation of that?
Yeah, we definitely see green circled dialogue happening that only Luthor can hear.
I didn't make the connection of who that was.
Oh, yeah, no, come on. That's John Stewart. Not John, John Jones.
Right, of course. Martian Manhunter. He's in there. I almost forgot about that. But there is so much that happens. Batman in this issue, pretty good. Enjoy his stuff, especially at the end. Anti-Monitor running around after Kara and her and John's kid.
Yep.
Because they need to get back. And the Legion of Doom ship with Luthor at the head of it, it parks itself right outside the Hall of Justice. Pretty intense. You think that's it. They're like, what do you got now, Batman? I can imagine you sitting in there. So what does Batman do? Batman reveals that he built the Hall of Justice to turn into a big-ass flying machine.
Right on page 1. What are they talking about? Batman's putting his hand on some of the construction of the building, and he goes, I constructed this of the lightest material possible.
That's true. Yeah, so next time we get to see the Hall of Justice versus the
Fortress of Doom.
The Fortress of Doom.
As giant airships.
Well, the Fortress of Doom is more spidery now.
Yeah, but it's an airship.
That is true.
It's floating.
It has been an airship.
And the Hall of Justice is a big ship.
Big ship, which is very cool. This continues to move along.
It feels like we're about to get to the end. So
it really does feel like, we're coming to the climax of all of this that's been going on ever since they broke the source wall with the Dark Multiverse stuff.
Can you stick the landing, Scott Snyder?
We'll see. Let's keep our fingers crossed because landings are hard to stick. We definitely have seen that, especially this week.
And what about that one chunk of Starro that the Legion of Doom was using to spy on the Hall of Justice?
Seems like they dropped that.
Ooh, we'll see.
Yeah, Jarrow got his mandatory lines in this. We'll see what happens to him as well. I hope he
seems
survives.
somehow keyed into the flight ability of the fortress.
That may be true.
Yeah, he was doing something.
He was doing something, also nerding out as he does. So I'd give this a 7.
I'm also going to give it a 7.
Nice.
Pretty entertaining, pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for the reviews for this week. Thank you so much for sticking with us. As always, a like is appreciated. Subscribe if you aren't subscribed, and we'll be back in the very near future with even more comic reviews.
See you then, Planet Earth.